Patorikku is on the forefront of a genre on the rise. It's fair to say the analog horror genre wouldn't be the same without his series. His sub-count in the past year is evidence of this. Patorikku is consistently creating captivating work. Not only does he create gripping visual stories, he also creates great music that is as creative and versatile as his stories. He has single-handedly created one of the most unique and obscure internet horror series there is to find, and continues to conceptualize new mind-bending material out of obscurely brilliant ideas. Once you begin down the rabbit hole that is Patorikku, you find you're delivered into a new perspective of reality. What he's creating is captivating. A musician at heart that has found himself entangled in a new internet motion. Today, we're going to delve into his initial breakout series, The Smile Tapes. So stick around, you might find something worth keeping an eye on. The Smile Tapes is the creation of Patorikku, a 17-year-old musician. Patorikku created the series in December 2021 and has soon picked up traction with the psychotics of the internet. At the time of this recording, the Patorikku channel has amassed 31,000 subscribers and over 1.2 million views. In 2022, Patorikku created a second music-orientated channel that, although a lot smaller than his main channel, is slowly gathering a following. The Smile Tape's initial release is called simply Announcement, and in this video we're introduced to the major directing factor of the series and the cause of everything.
This message is broadcasted to raise awareness of a new drug in circulation, the Smile drug. We advise for you to stay away from any person suspected to be under its influence. For the past few months, we have received over 500 deaths related to the drug. The drug itself has not been scientifically investigated. Its most obvious effects are mania, uncontrollable laughter, violent tendencies, and the alleged smile in which the drug was named after.
In the second investigation journal of the Smile Tapes, we discover that 1,489 people have died and 5,361 people are hospitalized from the spread of this fungus. At the start of the first initial video, the fungus was incorrectly presented as a smile drug, and we were told that 500 people had died in just a few months. This leads us to believe that time has moved on since the first video and beginning of the outbreak. Some new information is presented to us also, as we learn that the fungus has the ability to mutate and therefore might change as time goes on. Considering the spores supposedly can linger for about 30 hours and anywhere within 10 meters is a danger zone, I'd say that the human race within the Smile Tapes universe is pretty screwed. It's difficult to tell if the tapes that document the fungus and its spread are those of a laboratory, a government organisation, or the police service. Whichever it is, they are aware that the fungus was introduced initially through the black market and was misunderstood as a drug. When a user of the so-called drug, called Gomez, infected himself on the 4th of December 1994, he through a violent killing spree made the general public aware of its existence. By 1995, cities are complete chaos. 3 variants of the fungus are spreading wildly across the USA, and it seems only one of these variants doesn't destroy the host mentally and physically. There seems to be no end in sight. Very recently, possibly the most important volume was released, Volume 3. Once again, this chapter is set further forward in time, 1996 to be precise. In this video we are informed that 9,786 people are now dead and 4,035 are hospitalized. The world has worsened severely since the last video, and we are given insight into this with a brief video diary of a survivor that is forced out of safety by hunger. In his diary we can clearly see that society has all but collapsed. Chaos floods the streets, buildings blazing and burnt out are in the majority, the city itself resembles a living hell. In Volume 3, it's explained that this fungus originates from the Yucatan region of South America, and this fungus that has society at the throat is prehistoric, around 65 million years old. Scientists can conclude this from the discovery of the fungus in a mosquito fossilized in amber. This part of the video is interesting, as we could speculate that possibly the smile fungus, better known as Abelimundo rhizus, had something to do with the dinosaur's extinction. This is alluded to by the visuals that were shown over the top of the discovery, which looks to be an old infographic about the extinction event. To conclude the volume and the end of Season 1, we're given an interview from after the smile fungus disaster, as a gentleman casually talks about his experience of surviving in a basement while rabid grins ruled the world above.
I was there during that whole outbreak. I stayed in my basement for a whole year. Yeah. I had to get used to living in such a claustrophobic space where I'd risk getting infected or brutally murdered by those psychos. The tricky part was getting food. I'd carefully walk around streets with a gas mask, avoiding the infested areas. And the competition for food was really, really high. So lots of fights would happen. The supermarkets that were abandoned, with a high chance of a smiler, intervening. And I got to witness one myself. God, oh my God, it was the bloodiest thing I have ever seen.
From the ending text, it's uncertain if there will be a series 2. I sense that for a long while that might be it for the Smile tapes. From recent posts, Patorikku has said he wants to leave it for a while and focus on his new series, They Lie Above. So now we understand the lore behind the Smile tapes, it's time to look at why it's so interesting. Well, for starters, it plays on everyone's fear while weaving an interesting story around it. It's common in modern horror films for the story to be pretty crap, and the fear factor to spring out of jump scares. Also, most horror films seem to use the same genres, usually something with either a ghost, a murderer, a zombie or an alien. After a while it gets boring, stale, and not worth the scare factor. Whereas the Smile tapes take the Day of the Triffids and turn it to analog, then make something worth following. We all like vicariously living through an apocalypse, as the consumption of multimedia has displayed with its figures of film and game sales. And so taking something we all find interesting and giving it a new and unique backstory has certainly appealed to people. I also can't ignore the placement of the series. The Smile tapes was created during a pandemic, and while watching it, it's hard not to see the similarities in things like wording and how the fungus behaves. It strikes a chord very close to what we have heard in recent times. From a technical point of view, Patorikku's work is excellent. From his Instagram posts, it's clear that he goes to great lengths and puts a lot of work behind his material, going as far as to run his work through real analog technology, like VCRs, just to gain the grain. What really stands out is the fact that he's creating all this work single-handedly and carving a new, unique way into a standout internet genre, all while creating albums that are just as obscure. In a sense, Patorikku's story is the underdog story. When you have huge recent stories like the Backrooms and the Mandela Catalogue at the top, becoming synonymous with the name of the genre, you can't help but get behind a small creator that's trying to make something of their own that carries just as much uniqueness. Overall, I think Patorikku brings a new frame to the genre, and it's a genre on the move. The end. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Next video is the Mandela Catalogue, so stay tuned. Peace.